So welcome to today's Nourish class. Today we're going to focus primarily on the neck and shoulders and the middle and upper trunk. We're not going to dismiss or ignore the lower body because that just wouldn't feel good at the end of the practice. But we are going to do some really nice stuff today to work on tension in the upper body, especially in the neck and the shoulders. We're going to do some stuff to stabilize and strengthen through our middle spine. And all of that is also going to create a much better container for our breath to flow. And we'll talk about that a little bit as we go through our practice today. I invited each of you before, and if I didn't, then I'm inviting you now to grab either a big blanket or towel. And I'm going to scooch back a little bit so that I can model for you how we're going to start today. So I just have a blanket from the couch. Just a nice big winter blanket. For me, that means winter, fall, and spring. And I'm just rolling it into like a cylinder. And I'm gonna take that on the floor so that it's gonna run parallel to my spine. From here, I'm going to bring my trunk down on it. Now you see that I don't have it positioned all the way up to my body. There's some distance, some space between the bottom and my torso because I want this to stop right here at the low ribs. I don't want it going to my low back. So start with your knees bent and your feet on the floor so that you're supporting your low back, speaking of which, and then bring your head down. So you can see here my torso, my head is supported on this little bolster or cylinder blanket underneath me. If it feels okay for you, turn your palms up towards the ceiling. Now we started here, and this is what might feel best for your low back. If it is, stay here. If it doesn't create any disturbance or pain or discomfort, you can go ahead and straighten your legs and let them come all the way down to the floor and let them rest naturally. From here, you might choose to soften your gaze straight above you. You might choose to close your eyes fully. And here, we're going to just pause in this shape together. And take a few moments to connect a little more deeply and fully to our breaths in the shape known as supported fish. And take a moment just to notice where your natural breath is rising and falling in the space at the front of your body. Maybe you feel more or less motion in one part of your belly, your ribs, than the other. Maybe you feel a point of origin of the breath inside the body. Maybe that origin feels like it starts to soften as it dissipates and flows out through the ribs. Take just a few more breaths here. And begin to draw that deep awareness into that flow. Allow the weight of your shoulders and your upper arms to release more fully towards the ground underneath them. The back of the head dropping towards the support underneath it, releasing any held tension at the base of your skull into the muscles at the back of your neck. Now slowly start to take your hands and Place them at your belly, about that point, right between your navel and the bottom of your rib cage. And just allow the palms to rest gently there, elbows dropping down towards the ground, towards the mat. Notice what kind of movement, if any, you feel here as you breathe in and out. Do the hands lift up towards the ceiling with the inhale? Do they lift with the exhale? Is this a place perhaps where the origin of the breath comes in the body? Perhaps it's not here, it's somewhere else. Just a few more moments, feeling the natural breath here in the space between your navel and the base of your ribs. Now start to inhale a little more deeply next breath. As you inhale, see if you can feel the breath moving underneath your hands. Maybe you feel the hands start to lift away from the floor. Maybe you feel a widening of your fingerprints. As you take the breath into this part of the belly and receive that breath in your hands, notice if you can feel that subtle sensation all the way back up your arms and into the fronts of your shoulders. The next time you exhale, come back to a natural fullness of your own breath. Now take your hands and slide them up to the midpoint of your breastbone. Right, so you have kind of the mid sternum here between the right underneath your sternal notch, and you're going to go to each side. So you're not at your collarbones. You're just below that point by about 2 or 3 finger widths. I'm demonstrating this if you would like to see it. And as you let your fingers rest here, notice what kind of movement, if any, that you feel as you breathe in and out. Maybe this feels like where the breath originates in the body, perhaps it's somewhere else. Now again, start to deepen your inhales. See if you can bring the breath into the space underneath your fingers, underneath your fingerprints. Maybe you even feel the rib cage widen underneath your fingers here. Maybe you feel the upper ribs start to lift. Take just one more breath here. And the next time that you're exhaling, let your hands come back down to the floor, palms turned up towards the ceiling. Natural breath flowing in and out. Feel the sensation of that movement through the front of your body. And for these last few moments here, start to deepen and expand the inhales once again. Notice where you feel the breath originating and moving in the body, how it distills outward or perhaps draws inward like a funnel. Take just one more breath here as you are breathing deeply. And then after the next exhale, allow your natural breath to resume once again. Maybe there's this new awareness with the way that the breath moves inside of you. Perhaps there's greater knowledge about the way that the breath and the body function together, muscles and bones expanding, drawing back in. If your legs are straight on the floor, go ahead and bend your knees so that you bring support once again into your low back. And then from here, everybody roll over onto your left hand side so that you come off of that support that you had behind you and into somewhat of a fetal position. Take support with that left arm any way that you choose so that you feel supported here through your neck. Lift that right leg or top leg up just a little bit and start to motion that leg like you're riding a bicycle. And let the movement of your leg match that gentle and natural rhythm that you've established deeper knowing of in the breath. Take one more motion in this direction and then circle back the opposite way. And again, feel that qualities of fluidity and ease through the breath, through the motion of the knee, through the hip. Use your next motion to take your legs back together again. Now bring your top arm and just lay it along the top side of your body. So my palm is kind of touching the outside of my hip. Reach your arm straight up towards the ceiling until it aligns with your shoulder and stay here. I'm demonstrating for you. And then take that arm back down towards the side of your body. And then repeat that motion. Come up just to the height of your shoulder. And then bring that arm back down to your body. Feel an easy, gentle motion through the shoulder. If it doesn't create any disturbance or create any feelings of instability through that shoulder, you can start to take that arm now closer to your head, and you're going to probably naturally reverse that palm, right? So as my arm moves up towards the height of my shoulder, at some point, I'm going to have to flip my hand by rotating my shoulder so that I can get my arm closer to my ear. So find a range of movement here that works for you. Just a few more gentle breaths. Easy, gentle movement. The next time that your arm is straight up over your shoulder, pause there. And now bend the elbow and take your fingers to your shoulder cap. Start to motion that upper arm and elbow into circles. And I'm doing all of this as we go through it. So you can keep your eyes open if they're closed at any time. And then circle back the other way. And take 1 to 2 more nice, easy, breezy circles. And then bring that arm all the way back to your side body. Now straighten your legs so that your body is in one relatively long line here. And if you need to do something different with that bottom arm, please do. I'm actually gonna I'm gonna slide back a little bit. You might stay where you are. Okay. All right. So here we go. So from here, now that top leg, which should be your right leg, lift that leg straight up, press out through your heel as you do. And you might see here, I'm not going a lot higher than my hip, right? I'm kind of staying just at a pretty small angle here. Keep reaching out through that right heel. This might start to feel a little intense. Take 3 more breaths and see if you can maintain that ease through the breath. When your third breath is complete, or sooner if you need to for safety, release that leg gently back down to your bottom leg. And take a moment just to feel if something swishes through that hip or that leg when you release. That's an official word, swish. All right, family, press out through that top heel and lift that leg again, just a little higher than the height of your hip. If this felt good for you last time, or if this felt enough for you, stay right here. If you want another option that'll add just a little intensity, take your right arm and reach it straight up over your right shoulder. If you want to add even a little more intensity, bring that right arm up over your right ear. Reach your fingers and heel in opposite direction. Find ease through the breath. If that arm is up over your ear, circle it forward. Otherwise, take it straight back to the side body. Everybody, let that top leg and that top arm come down to rest. Now take that top hand and place your palm right at your low rib cage above the line of your waist. If you need to bend your knees a little more here again for stability, go ahead and do that. If you want to grab that blanket to put it between your legs for better support in your low back, do that. We're going to stay here for maybe 1 more minute. And just notice where you feel the breath in the side of your body. And start to deepen the inhales and see if you can feel the breath moving into that top side of your waist, underneath the bottom of your rib cage. Maybe you feel that side of your body lifting up towards the ceiling at the top of your inhale. 1 more breath, just like this. Releasing that arm back down, come back to your natural breath. Now be easy. You're not going to roll onto your support. We want to get that off of the mat, but you are going to roll back onto your back with your knees bent again without support this time. Okay. All right. So should have been the left leg if you're following me, but if it ended up being your right leg, that's okay too. Whatever leg you were just was your top leg, pull that knee bent over your hip and interlace your fingers behind that knee. And now slowly start to straighten the leg, heel presses towards the sky, and then bend the knee, bring the heel back down. Repeat this motion for the next 6 to 8 cycles of breath. Notice the sensation that you feel through the muscles of your upper thigh. Through the muscles of the breath. The next time that your knee is extended, stay here, press your heel up towards the ceiling. Bring awareness to the front of your body. Maybe even imagine that your hands were at that point once again between your navel and your low ribs. You're going to keep holding your leg, but maybe pretend that your hands are there. And see if you can expand that space of that low to mid belly a little more with the breath. Take one more deep cycle of breathing here. Bend the knee and then bring that foot down to the mat with your knee bent, and pause just to feel the reflection of that side of your body. Feel how it touches the floor from your shoulder to your hip to your foot. Notice the different qualities of breath movement between that side of your body and the side that has had a little less movement yet. From here, family, you're going to roll over onto your other side, which will be your right side if you're following me. I'm going to do a whole lift and flip, but you don't have to do that. But I'm going to flip over so that I am not having my back to you. And so we're going to start once again in that little kind of fetal position. Head supported any way you want. I usually have my arms straight. Some people like their elbow bent, right? Whatever feels best for you. Once you get situated here, lift that top leg up and start to motion that leg like you're riding a bicycle. And as you take these few motions and breaths here, notice the quality of fluidity through the knee and the hip, the amount of spaciousness through the breath. If you haven't done so already, start to take that leg the opposite direction. Sensing and feeling the qualities of movement, watching what arises through the inward and outward flow of the breath. After your next motion, bring the legs together, stacking both on top. Straighten your legs now so that you bring your body into one long line. Oh, I think we wanted to do the arm stuff first. Hold on. I think we want to do that first. Bring your knees back. Sorry. Probably some of you are already there ahead of me, just like real life. Well, this is real life. It's so weird, 2020. Okay. Take that top arm and lay it over your body. The one thing that has not changed in Zoom is that I still make the same silly missteps. Okay. Start with just moving up to the line of your shoulder, family. Sweep your arm up towards the ceiling and bring it just to the height of your shoulder. And then bring the arm back down towards your side body. You're going to then lift just to the height of your shoulder and then draw the arm back. Now, this might not feel like much. And for some people, the sensation of this might not be a lot of sensation. But yoga is not always about creating the most sensation in the body that we can. Yoga is about creating the most openness in the body that we can. And openness comes by paying attention and cultivating what yoga calls santosha, contentment. We're going to talk about that more today. Good. If you feel okay, you can start to take your arm a little closer to your head, and you'll flip your palm down towards the floor as you take that motion. For me on this side, I'm going to stay at shoulder height. Because I actually have some instability in the shoulder. And once I start to get a little past my shoulder, my arm starts to feel really unstable, my shoulder. And I could easily get it to my ear, but that's not going to be the best option, nor create the most openness, right? Good, just a few more breaths with whatever range you're working with. And the next time that you bring the arm down, let it come to rest on the side of your body once again and pause. Okay, now we're going to straighten the legs, family. Get your body in one relatively long line. You might feel a little wobbly here. Engage your core a little bit more. Engage even that bottom leg a little bit more. See, I'm pressing out through my bottom heel here. I'm moving my top leg so you can see it. But I've engaged that bottom leg a little bit more to give me some more stability up into my pelvis. And then from here, lift that top leg up just a little higher than your hip. Press out through your heel. Notice where you feel the origin of sensation here. Right, so maybe the strongest sensation you feel at the outer leg, you feel at the inner leg, right? And sensation is to not be confused with pain. Pain is a small, sharper, pointed region. Strong sensation is going to be a bigger, more spread out region. Good. One more breath. Release that leg back down. And when you let the weight of that leg land, notice what moves into that space of openness that you just created. Press out through that top heel again, creating more energy and action in that top leg. Lift that top leg just as high as your hip, maybe slightly higher. You can stay here if you want that arm option again. You can take that top arm up towards the ceiling. You could take that arm up by your ear. Whatever you choose, deepen the experience through breath. Find more sensation in the breath. Bring that leg down, release that arm forward if it's over your ear, otherwise straight back to your side. And again, when you release all that effort that you had in your muscles, feel what arises in that space. And then bend the knees again a little or more. If you need support here, some kind of cushion or pillow between the knees, take that top hand just to the top of your waist, right at your low ribs. And start to just begin to feel the breath and how it naturally moves through this part of your body, where and if you can feel it. And then over the next few breaths, start to bring more inhale and volume into the body. Feel for more sensation underneath your palm or fingers, more movement underneath your ribs or in your waist. And next, exhale, let your natural breath resume. And bring that arm back to your side, pausing here to rest. Take that top hand to the ground in front of your sternum. From here, we're going to make our way up to our hands and knees. We're not going to be here long, maybe 5 to 8 cycles of breath. Come up onto all fours. You can have your palms flat. You can come up onto the big knuckles of your wrist with your thumbs oriented the same direction as your head. If neither one of those works for you, come on your forearms. This is perfectly fine. Once you're here in stables, just start some motion, cat lift and cat tuck. We've spent some time in our practice today so far focusing on sensation and expanding and opening to the front of the body. We're going to do more of that. We've spent some time opening to the side of the body, breathing into the side of the body. There's more of that to come as well. And now we want to start feeling motion and breath through the back side of our rib cage, through the back side of our shoulders. Just another moment of movement here. And then come back to a neutral position. We're already going to come up to standing today from here. So you could tuck toes and move through downward facing dog. You know, that's an option I often give for folks. Now, I'm going to say this is a shoulder neck class. So maybe you skip that option today. I don't know. Up to you, your practice. We co-create. It's not my gig. All right. If down dog isn't how you want to move up into space today, you could walk your hands back like I'm doing. I'm going to very carefully bring my feet to the ground, hands to my legs, and slowly rise all the way up. Okay. Once you get here, if you want, you can stand to orient towards the long edge of your mat. If you like to keep everything, you know, organized. I'll orient this way in the video for languaging purposes. We're going to start with a bit of a wide stance, not so wide you lose balance and get an intense stretch in your inner legs, but a little wider because we're going to do a little side movement here. Turn your left toes, knee, and hip towards the left side, maybe towards the left edge of your mat. And then bend your left knee as if you were coming into that side warrior or warrior two position. And then bring your left forearm down to your left thigh. You could also take your left hand onto your leg if that just feels a little too intense for your side or your spine, or if it's putting too much pressure on your shoulder, right? Now, bring that right arm and hand down to your right side. As you inhale, sweep that right arm up to the height of your right shoulder. And then bring your arm down. So we're going to repeat the same idea that we did on our side. If you know it's a safe movement for you, you could, excuse me, go ahead and start to take that arm up towards your ear. Now, for those of you where holding stable in the spine is what's safest, you're just going to stay here with the shoulder movement, okay? If you want a little more spine movement and you want something that feels a little more dynamic in your practice today, you're actually going to move forward and backwards with your whole trunk, right? And so I'm going to start to demonstrate that in just a moment here. Here we go. Keep that front knee bent, lift your whole trunk, reach your front fingers back like peaceful warrior. And then bring that front arm, elbow, or hand back to the leg and reach out through your right fingers, side angle. Right, so you can just keep the movement with the arm, or you can start to bring a little more motion into your spine. We're just going to stay with this for 2 more cycles of breath wherever you are. If you're working with that full trunk movement, the next time you come into lateral angle, stay here. And then everybody take your right hand to your right hip. Lift your trunk, straighten that left knee, and turn your left toes forward. And let your arms come down and just feel the right side of your body from the shoulder through the ribs into the low waist. Feel the line of inhales and exhales arising and dissolving in the right side of your body. Preparing for that second side, turn your right knee, toes, hip to the right side. Bend the right knee either just over or behind the right ankle. Either one is safe. Over the knee is not so safe. Okay. All right. So again, starting smaller and then building, right? We don't create openness by plowing our way into things. That might not be a great example, but you know what I mean, right? So, well, we plow in, we open, but that might create some peripheral damage, right? So, hand or arm to that front leg. Take your top arm along the side of your body. We'll all start with a smaller range of motion. Take your left arm out and up to shoulder height, and then bring that arm back down to your side. Again, adjust accordingly with your variation of lateral angle here. We don't want to be putting a lot of weight down on that right shoulder or right elbow. If you're wanting to move into deeper shoulder and arm movement, you can do that. See, I just started doing it. We're such creatures of habit, and I should not be doing it. All right. Here's what not to do, students. Okay. And again, here we go. If you want to explore a little more trunk and spine movement, you can come through peaceful warrior and back to lateral angle, bringing more lengthening in that space between the lower ribs and the top of your pelvis. Good. Just a couple of more breaths. The next time that you land in lateral angle, if you're moving the trunk, stay here. And then everybody, please take your left hand to your left hip, lift your trunk up, straighten that bent knee, turn toes back towards the front, arms by your side, and feel the length and the space through that side of your body. Bring your hands to your outer hips. You can take your feet and legs a little closer together here. I just came in maybe like a ½ inch or so on each leg. Move at your pelvis. Start to lift your tailbone behind you. Draw the pelvis away from your waist as you start to hinge forward. Please do not go any farther forward than a 90-degree angle. Draw your chin slightly towards your sternal notch. Now you can keep your elbows and hands here as they are. Now I'm looking up at you, but you're looking down at the floor unless you need to see me. Keep your hands at your hips. Draw the inner elbows towards one another and pull your shoulder blades together, right? So now you're kind of like a cricket. Take one more breath if you're working with this deeper shoulder activation. Bring your elbows out more parallel to the sides if you lifted them. Everybody, press down into your feet, flat back, lift all the way upright to stand. And now take your pelvis into a few circles like you're hula hooping. And then hula hoop the other way. And bring the pelvis to a line right underneath your ribs. Turn your right toes, knee and hip to the right side. This time you're going to keep that knee straight. Take your arms out to shoulder height and reach your fingertips in opposite direction. Press your left hip over to the left side. And now if you look at my front arm, I'm up at a little bit of an angle, right? I'm not down here. Bring your arm up just a little higher than your shoulder. And now look out and up over your fingertips and take your aim there. Okay, so reach up a little bit and over so that you don't collapse down through this bottom side of your waist. Good, stay here, gazing out. 2 more breaths. This is an active variation of triangle. Press down into your feet, lift your trunk and your torso. Turn your right toes forward, bring your arms behind you, and wrap your left fingers around your right forearm. Reach your right fingers down towards the floor and drop your chin forward towards your chest. Roll your head left, bringing your left ear over your left shoulder. And then small, subtle movement, if any at all. I'm going to change my orientation so you can see what I'm doing with my arm here. So I have my arm behind me. And if it would be okay for you, with your left hand, start to press that right arm back behind you a little more. Maybe that starts to create a little more openness here across the front of that collarbone. Right, a lot of our respiratory muscles attach onto our collarbone, into our first and second ribs. And so when we have tightness here at the front of our shoulders and at the outer and mid sternum, it actually restricts our breathing. Right, so it's not just good to release tension from the body just because it feels good physically. It helps us breathe better. Good, one more breath here. Roll your head forward, chin to chest. Bring that right arm back towards your trunk if you've pressed it away. Release from the behind you, arms by your side, and from chin at sternum, lift your head up. And notice the quality of space that you feel through that shoulder, through that side of your neck. Take your hands to your outer hips. If you need to readjust the legs here, the feet here, go ahead and do so, setting up for Trikonasana, that variation of triangle on the second side. Left toes, knee, and hip orient to the left side, legs stay straight. Arms move out to T position. Now, we want to stabilize here through the shoulders to help our neck, right? Gravity wants to pull our head in every direction. Especially when we're in a posture like Trikonasana. Draw your shoulder blades slightly towards one another behind you, and at the same time, see if you can create this quality or sensation of lengthening here across your collarbones. Now, turn towards your front arm, your left arm, and lift that arm just a little higher than your shoulder. I would maybe like 1.5 inches. Press your right hip over to the right side and reach slightly up and out through your left fingers. Again, we don't want to collapse through that left side of your body. Maintain that outward gaze and let the ease of the breath deepen your experience within the shape. Press down through your feet, reach back through your right fingers, drawing trunk and pelvis aligned. Bring your hands to your hips, turn your toes forward. Take your pelvis into little circles like you're moving with a hula hoop. And then circle back. Bring the pelvis to neutral. Draw the arms out to shoulder height again. Bring the arms behind you, this time right fingers around your left forearm. Reach down through the fingers and drop your chin forward to your chest. Roll your head right ear over right shoulder. Maybe you stay here. Maybe the right hand gently presses the left arm back a little bit, creating a little space between the arm and the trunk. Allow the ease of the breath to create ease in the upper body. If you have your arm away from you, bring it back towards your trunk. Everybody, roll head forward, chin to chest. Arms return by your sides. Lift the head, chin neutral, head lifted. And take a moment here, just feeling the reflection of that space through the second side of your body. Noticing perhaps greater or deeper or more vibrant sensations felt with the inward and outward flow of the breath. Bring your hands to your outer hips. And one more time, excuse me, bring your feet and legs together a little closer. And again, I went this time maybe like an inch on each side. Soft knees, start to lift through your pelvis, hinge at the hips and come forward, please no farther than 90 degrees. Draw your low ribs away from your waist. For right now, keep your elbows wide if you went with that other expression last time. And face straight down towards the floor, chin slightly tucked towards your sternum. Now bring your awareness to the back side of your ribs. See if you can feel the breath moving underneath the false ribs, the floating ribs, and all the way up the mid part of your spine and underneath your shoulder blades. Take one more breath here. Bring your hands from your hips to your legs. Start to walk your hands down towards the floor. You might bend your knees a bit as you do this. You might take this time for more of a stretch, keeping your knees straight. Let the head hang towards the floor. From here, we're going to start to make our way down onto our hands and knees. So however you want to safely get there, from here, you might want to step back like you're lunging. You could simply walk your hands down, roll down through a ball, but you eventually want to get back here on your hands and knees. Once you're on your hands and knees, create a little distance between your legs here, right? So if you see in the monitor, my knees are just slightly wider than the distance of my hips. Bring your arms in a little closer than the width of your shoulders, right? So wider base at the knees and shorter distance at the front side. Lean into your left hand, sweep your right arm out to the side and up, and take your right wrist into a few circles. And then circle back the other way. Release the motion of the circles. And now thread the needle, come on to that right shoulder, right arm, right side of your head. Feel free to grab a pillow or a blanket to place underneath that right shoulder or underneath your skull if you would like. Now, if this feels good for you, stay right here. If you want, take your left arm and bring it up over your left ear, palm to the mat. Once you've situated into your variation of thread the needle, stay where you are. I'm coming out. Once you're situated here, take a moment to feel the breath moving through the left side of your rib cage, through the right side of your rib cage. Let the breath flow with ease through the waist of your body and into the space underneath your false and floating ribs, into the back rib cage underneath your shoulder blades. Take one more cycle, experiencing and exploring the sensation of breath through the side and the back of your body. And if you've taken that left arm up, go ahead, bring the left hand back to the floor by your gaze, and everybody gently come back up. Your knees are a little wider, your arms are a little closer than shoulder distance. Lean into your right hand, sweep your left arm out and up, and take that left wrist into a few circles. And then circle back the other way. Release the motion of the wrist. Thread the needle. Again, take whatever you need for support here, family. Underneath that left shoulder, left arm, underneath the left side of your skull. Once you settle onto the floor, make a decision about that right shoulder and arm. Maybe the hand stays where it is, elbow bent. Maybe it reaches up over your head, creating more length in the shoulder muscles that connect between your shoulder blade and your pelvis. Those are your latissimus muscles. And again, feel for the various flows and sensations of breath through the side of your body. Letting the inhalations press the left shoulder, left ribs a little closer to the floor, right ribs lifting and expanding into space. If you have that arm up, bend the elbow, take your hand back in front of your gaze, and then everybody gently press up, coming back on to hands and knees. From here, adjust your arms so that they're shoulder distance, adjust legs so that they're hip distance, and take a few motions once again through cat tuck and cat lift. Feel how the ribs and the middle back articulate as the body extends and flexes. Feel the opening at the front of the body as you come into cat lift, tailbone lifts, chest lifts. Feel a widening of the breath in the back of the body as you come into cat tuck, rounding your spine. 2 more cycles of movement and breath. With your next motion, come back to a neutral table position. And from here, family, we're going to come to sit for the remainder of our practice. So grab something comfortable to sit on if that would be useful for you. You could sit up on that blanket, you could sit on a block, a pillow, whatever would feel good for you today. I owe you a hamstring stretch on one side. Do that when we're done. All right, see, you just don't know what's going to happen. So let's do this. You're seated here. I think we need to stretch our left hamstring. Yeah. So keep your right knee bent. I know you can't see me now. Keep your right knee bent and take your left leg straight out in front of you. This is that posture, Janushirshasana, kind of the one-legged hamstring stretch. You know, you just got to go with the flow, right, family? All right. So right knee is bent. Take whatever support you need under that. I'm pretty sure this is the leg we need to do. If I'm wrong, change it. You're going to press out through the heel of that straight leg and bring your hands or fingerprints to the floor and just sit nice and tall. Now, here's how we're going to play with this for just about 1 minute. We oftentimes like to start to fold forward and really get into this thing. And I'm going to invite us to focus on the breath here and to feel the rise and fall of the inhale and the exhale. And notice how that breath moves through the different spaces and qualities and the muscles of that straight leg. Where can you soften deep within the muscles of that leg to let the breath flow more freely and easily? One more cycle of breath here. And now fold that leg in any way that you choose, coming into a comfortable seat. And if you need to rearrange any props on your mat, go ahead and do so. We took a little detour there. It's the theme of life right now. Detours, pivots, and detours. Hence the need for openness. Yeah. All right, family. So get that base settled. Bring your hands to your lap with your palms turned upwards. Bring your left fingers to the front of your left shoulder. And start to motion that left arm and elbow into a few circles. And then circle back the other way. Use your next circle to take that hand back to your lap. Bring your right fingers to your right shoulder. Motion that upper arm and elbow into a few little circles. Circle back the other way. Take one more motion and then release that hand down to your lap. Let the weight of your hands release towards your legs, the arm bones drawing down, shoulders pulling away from your ears. Eyes can soften forward or close fully. And bring your awareness to the breath. And take your awareness to the back side of your body and see if you can feel the inward and outward motion of the breath through the back side of your ribs, under your shoulders. Feel the breath spilling and swirling into the side body, into the front of the body, that vitality moving through the open cylinder of space within. In yoga, we call this quality santosha, contentment. And that simply means being open to the isness of the moment. To be aware, to be awake, and to allow the experience to move through us. This is the goal of yoga. Take a deep breath in through the nose. Pause with a gentle sigh out. Thank you for joining me for this hour of Nourish today. This officially ends our sacred circle. Thank you so much for sharing your time and your energy with me this afternoon, or this morning, or this evening, whenever it is that you practice. Have a beloved and blessed day, and I will see you again on the path. Om Shanti Jai Bhagwan.